While discussing some different kinds of sleep disorders in my psychology class, we touched on narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a disorder that causes uncontrollable sleepiness throughout the day. People get sudden attacks of sleep, meaning they fall asleep at random points of the day, whether they're like in the middle of eating or talking, they just fall asleep out of nowhere. This disorder also may cause a weakness in muscles known as cataplexy. Cataplexy is a disorder that causes sudden loss of muscle tone while you're awake. It can affect part of the body or the whole body. If you have cataplexy, strong emotions can trigger the reaction. People with narcolepsy may suffer from vivid hallucinations while they're falling asleep. This is because they are falling directly into REM sleep and then waking up in REM sleep. Some people with narcolepsy also experience sleep paralysis. This is when your body remains paralyzed after waking up. Most people who have narcolepsy also have trouble sleeping at night. It is treatable, but it is not curable. Narcolepsy most often starts in adolescence. It affects both males and females equally. It isn't as rare as most people think. That's just because it gets misdiagnosed. Narcoleptics have a lower amount of the chemical hypocretin in the brain, which is known to help keep people awake. The answer for why narcoleptics have a lowered amount of this chemical are still unknown. Basically what this means is life with narcolepsy is a challenge. It affects school, work, your social life. Imagine for a moment that you are a guy in college. You wake up in the morning after a night of total restlessness. You were tossing, you were turning, and now you don't exactly feel like P. Diddy. You throw some clothes on, you slip on your medical alert bracelet, and you're ready to start the day. All you want is a cup of coffee. You're craving it, but that's a no-no because narcoleptics can't have caffeine, they can't have alcohol, they can't have nicotine. So you settle for some orange juice, you eat a breakfast rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, low-fat dairy, and lean sources of protein. You then head out for a run so you can get your required daily exercise. On your run, you come across a rather attractive female. You remember this person as Susie from your math class, so you stop to talk to her. Things are going good, and you start thinking about asking her out. You're nervous, and your heart begins to quicken pace as it does, and then she touches your forearm, in that flirtatious way, and the next thing you know, you're waking up on the pavement. Susie is standing over you and freaking out like you just had an aneurysm or something. So you try to calm her down. You explain the situation, and eventually you ask her to dinner. She accepts. Awesome. Later on, you head to school. You make it to your 1 p.m. psychology class and sit in the front row and try to stay engaged. Within 15 minutes into the lecture, you fall asleep again, and when you wake up, you realize that you'll never know what you missed because you forgot to bring your tape recorder that day. The day before the test, that's not good. After class, you head home and you take your scheduled mid-afternoon nap because you have to take naps periodically throughout the day so you can stay awake. Then later on, it's the big night. It's your date with Susie. You make her dinner. You yourself have to stick to eating something light, and the two of you hit it off. I mentioned earlier that narcolepsy affects your social life. I think you know where I'm going with this. Narcoleptics, unfortunately, can sometimes be faced with an impossibly difficult sex life. So you could be having a good time, it's going great, and just before you hit climax, you just conk out, and everyone is dissatisfied. So I hope that gave you a better understanding of what being diagnosed with narcolepsy is really like. If you have any questions, I would say that you could ask me, but you probably shouldn't. I'm a student, so you'd be better off consulting Wikipedia or something.